Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the Jayden Bryce Show, the show where we talk about the latest, hottest topics in the world of sports. I am your host, Jaydens. I'm so glad to be with you all today. I have not been on the microphone since Tuesday. I was supposed to film Wednesday, didn't get around to it because of work. Was going to do Thursday, didn't get around to it because of school and work. And yesterday, I didn't get around to it because of school and work. So yes, I am filming a podcast on Saturday afternoon. And guess what? Just because the topics that I'm talking about today was originally what I was supposed to talk about on Wednesday, we are going to have a show tomorrow morning around 7:30, 8 o'clock Eastern time to discuss all the matchups going on in Week 11. But for today's show, I got a lot of topics we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the action between the Jets and the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. We're going to talk about all the headline of the show, A.J. Brown and all the Eagles discourse going on over there in Philadelphia. We're going to talk some Caleb Williams and the Bears, Dan Campbell calling plays. And lastly, we are going to talk about the return of Demarion Overshown and Siobhan Revel. They both will be making their debut for the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football in Las Vegas against the Las Vegas Raiders. But before we get into all of that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for enjoying the show and joining the show. Do not hesitate to hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel, like the podcast, and check my podcast out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. No graphics today. Have not had time to do it. So for today's show, we are going to go ahead and hop right into it. Patriots Jets. This wasn't a game that was supposed to be entertaining. We expected it to be pretty much a Patriots dominating game. Mike Vrabel, Drake May, Travion Henderson, everybody. You're at home. You're facing the dysfunctional Jets, Aaron Glenn and Justin Fields. And of course, they get the W. But when I really watched this game, this was my one takeaway. And the more I watch this kid, I'm starting to eat crow. You know I'm a Duke fan. Y'all get this. I'm a Duke fan, ride or die. I'm from the Carolinas. I despise North Carolina Tar Heels. I despise them with a passion. And when Drake May was coming out, I was really skeptical when they came out with the mock drafts and they were like, Drake May's a top 3 draft prospect at the quarterback position. I'm like, what has everybody been watching? Because when I watched Drake May in college, I was like, I didn't see a future starting quarterback in the NFL for a franchise quarterback in the NFL. But have I ate crow? Watching Drake May on Thursday night, which, like I said, I've talked about him the last couple of weeks, but man, I gotta say, Drake May's an absolute fascinating watch. He's on time. He has great pocket presence, and he can flat out throw the football. This is credit to Josh McDaniel. You know, Josh McDaniel was the reason behind the success of Tom Brady. You know, he's had a couple run at a head coaching job. He's been with the Broncos. He's been with the Raiders. Those jobs never turned out. But my Lord, can this man call some plays offensively as the offensive coordinator of a ball club? Like, this man should never, and I heard John Middlecoff say this man should never get another head coaching job. That is not a knock against him, but this dude knows how to call an offense, establish and set and design an offense around a young quarterback, and even probably any quarterback in general, and help make that young quarterback flourish. He done that with Tom Brady, and he is doing that with Drake May. He has Drake May from last year and this year is just completely different. Josh McDaniel was literally revolutionized Drake May in front of our eyes. It is, I mean, when you saw the plethora of examples throughout this game, it's stuff that Drake May's doing that I didn't see at Carolina. It's what I didn't see last year when he played. There were plenty of moments Thursday night where Drake May's just maneuvering the pocket, trusting his feet, not he's keeping his eyes down the field in the pocket. It's like, wow. Because we know the rookie quarterbacks nowadays, most of them are not able to maneuver the pocket like Drake May was. The first thing and the first instinct they have is to run out of the pocket and make a play. Drake May stood in the pocket, stayed in the pocket, maneuvered the pocket, kept his eyes downfield, and was throwing darts. And when he needed to run, he's able to run. But Drake May is literally your throwback quarterback. He will sit in the pocket. He does not want to run. He will run if he has to. But I feel like, Drake May was running last year and earlier on this year, but I feel like Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels been in the meetings like, hey, you need to protect yourself a little bit more out there. Drake May's had a couple concussions this year. And we saw it on Thursday night. Drake May was sliding a whole lot more. He really didn't take no shots. Drake May is just a fascinating watch. It felt like all night for the Patriots. It felt like the game wasn't even close because the game was literally a one-score game going into the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, or late in the third quarter. It was a one-score game at one point in the second half. And even then, it just felt like the Patriots were up 3 scores. It didn't feel close. It just felt like the Patriots, Drake May, the defense, they felt like they had full control of that game in each aspects. In this New England Patriot team, they feel like a team that can win it either way. They can play good defense when they need to. They can play good offense when they need to. They're super disciplined. The discipline between a Mike Vrabel team and an Aaron Glenn team was on full display on Thursday. Like, it's not even close. You can tell that just the culture that Mike Revel has set in comparison to the Jets. It's like they saw many clips of, there was like a little fight or whatever. There was in a sportsmanlike conduct penalty by number 66 on the Jets. And, Mike Revel was looking at the sideline and they got a picture of him doing this. Like, these guys are just super disciplined. And it's just literally fascinating to see how the dysfunction of the Jets has lasted for decades. And in a span of 5 years, after the absence of Tom Brady, the Kraft family and everybody was just able to flip the script just like that. When we all thought that this may be the time where the New England Patriots might be on the cliff, as our good friend Max Kellerman used to say on ESPN. But now, I don't want to say this, but it kind of feels like the Patriots are back. I love Mike Vrabel. And this team is so good. They have the opportunity to get to 1 seed, and they're not even their roster's okay, but it's not loaded. Offensively, you have I won't say washed down, but we have a Stephon Diggs who's in the latter part of his prime. In a couple years, he might be already out of his prime, arguably. Your number 2 receiver is Mac Hollins. He's a good wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 on any other roster. You got a stud rookie in Travion Henderson. Offensive line is pretty decent. And even from the defensive side of the ball, like, they don't have this defensive player outside of Gonzalez that you're sitting there like, oh, that man is an absolute game wrecker. They just play absolute complimentary football. And that is a scary part about this team. If they are able going into next season as well, continue to bank on these free agents. They got Milton Williams from the Eagles in the offseason at defensive tackle, even though he got hurt in that game. But hopefully he looks like he's going to be ready to be back. But if they can continue to hit on some free agents, man, this team is going to be phenomenal for years to come. And we're just going to hit on the Jets just really quick. There's not much to say. The Jets are just pure T-bad. They were super undisciplined, like I just described earlier, given they are a Aaron Glenn-led team. That is something that we are not accustomed to seeing with a team like Aaron Glenn. Granted, this is his first stint as a head coach, but when he's coming from a Dan Campbell culture, and he was the defensive coordinator for Dan Campbell, and that team was disciplined, organized, and they played gritty. That is not the Jets. They look lifeless on defense, which is Aaron Glenn's side of the ball. The DBs, they got called for illegal touching, illegal contact, holding. It seemed like every drive. I mean, they just look bad. The offense is bad. Justin Fields is a mixed bag. Just when they walked down the field during the first drive of the game for the Jets, I was sitting there like, that ain't going to last. And of course it didn't. And I have a buddy that's one of my coworkers, or sorry, he's not my coworker. He's actually my boss for my internship at school, and he's a Jets fan. And we talked last night. He's like, man, you know what? I kind of felt like we had a little something going on there after we scored in that first drive. I was like, dude, no. You have Justin Fields at quarterback. He's a mixed bag. Your corners are awful. Your defense cannot cover anybody. Nobody flashed on my screen except for Quincy Williams' brother. Or sorry, Quincy Williams is his brother's name. Quentin Williams' brother, Quincy Williams at the linebacker position. He was the only one that popped off of my screen. Breece Hall on offense, one-trick pony. Adonai Mitchell, I don't know what's wrong with him. It seems like ever since that moment he had with the Colts where he dropped the ball in the end zone, he's forgot how to play football. He had many drops yesterday. Justin Fields was not hitting a lot of throws. That one back shoulder throw that he threw to Adonai Mitchell there at the end of the first half, just off target. Got to give him a better ball. It's just the Jets are bad. There's not more that you can really take away from that game. The Patriots are good. They are a force to be reckoned with. And it's going to be very, very exciting to see where they go in the future. Just a fascinating team all around. Let's go ahead and move on to our headline of the show. I want to go ahead and just, talk about the Thursday night game. And now we can really hit home on the elephant in the room for today's show. We understand that the A.J. Brown Philadelphia Eagles situation has been lingering all season. From pretty much week 2, week 3, we're going on week 11. We know that the Philadelphia Eagles defense has been very underwhelming. I don't have the stats to show you, but I watched First Things First the other day, Thursday, because this stuff came out roughly on late Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, about this whole article. And they show that the Philadelphia Eagles are one of the worst third down converting teams, and they punt the most in the NFL. They're one of the top 5 teams that have the most punts in the league. A very appalling and disturbing stat, given you have talent all across the roster. You have a guy in Jalen Hurts who is a Super Bowl MVP. A guy in A.J. Brown who is making $32 million, and he was the life source in the Super Bowl last year. You have a guy in Devontae Smith, comparable wide receiver too. He's paid. And a guy in Saquon Barkley who ran for over 2,000 yards last year. And the offensive line is pretty much the same. Mylotta's still there. Lane Johnson's still there. And yet, just because Kellen Moore is no longer the offensive coordinator and Kevin Patullo has taken over the reins, this Philadelphia Eagles offense has pretty much been non-existent. And A.J. Brown pretty much was airing out the Eagles' dirty laundry in an interview that he had on Wednesday afternoon or roughly Thursday. And he was pretty much saying, I don't have the clip to back it up. I didn't have time to do all this, but I will briefly paraphrase what A.J. Brown said. A.J. Brown pretty much said that it's cool we won a Super Bowl. And I get that. We won the Super Bowl offensively. It's fine. We're winning games this year. We're winning games. It's cool. But A.J. Brown was pretty much saying that we're mediocre. This offense is mediocre. This offense is not good enough. Scoring 10 points is not good enough. I have to get the ball. We got to be more efficient on offense. And Saquon Barkley was interviewed as well, and Saquon Barkley pretty much backed A.J. Brown's claim. And I have A.J. Brown's numbers pulled up from last year. A.J. Brown had 67 catches last year, 1,079 yards, and 7 touchdowns in 13 games in 2024. In comparison, to this year, in 8 games, A.J. Brown has 31 catches for only 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is a drastic shift from last year. Not terribly drastic. I was looking for, different numbers than what I was expecting. But if you really look at A.J. Brown's stats, outside of the 2 games where he went absolutely crazy with 120 yards and 109 yards, here is A.J. Brown's stat line. Against Green Bay, he only had 13 yards receiving. Against the Giants, he had 80 on 9 targets. That's when they started force-feeding A.J. Brown the ball. Against Denver, 43. Tampa, 7. Kansas City, 27. And then the first week against Dallas, he had 1 target the whole game from 8 yards. So I stand to be corrected. The whole discourse with A.J. Brown started roughly in week 1 when he got 1 target against the Dallas Cowboys. A.J. Brown is very much shy of not verbalizing his frustrations. And all of this really lingers from, there's this guy, I don't remember the fella's name, and he's a Twitch streamer. And he's a massive Commanders fan. He's like this comedian or whatever. He's pretty popular on the internet. And he posted a clip of him playing the game with a guy supposedly supposed to be A.J. Brown. And you know me, media trained, I was sitting here like, oh, that can't be A.J. Brown, right? Lo and behold, credible media outlets were like, oh yeah, that's A.J. Brown. And pretty much confirmed that was A.J. Brown. I was like, are you serious? Because A.J. Brown was pretty much saying, yeah, this season's been a crap show. He said some expletives, but family-friendly show. We're not going to say that on this show. I don't even cuss in general. But he said, yeah, this season is a crap show. He said, fantasy, y'all go ahead and trade me, and this of that nature. Very, very negative stuff, negative words regarding that whole gaming, whatever you like to call it, that he had with that famous guy from social media. Or from Twitch, rather. So A.J. Brown has not been shy of verbalizing his frustrations about the Philadelphia Eagles. And in his defense, he's not wrong. And this is something I've talked about with Philly all year. And I've been getting, I can't say I've been getting hate for it, but I know if I were if I was a decently known media personality, I'm pretty sure I would get a lot of hate for it. Because a lot of people's main thing is, yeah, we're winning games. Sure. But when you look back at the teams that the Philadelphia Eagles have faced, let's just take a look back at who they've faced. You played a Green Bay team whose offense was absolutely anemic and has been all season. They're questionable all around, or question if they're firing their head coach after this season. You only scored 10 points against them. Minnesota, you went up against J.J. McCarthy. Not much to say there. Sorry, no, that wasn't even J.J. McCarthy. That was against Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz was pretty much playing with a torn labrum, broken leg, everything that you could think of. That's what Carson Wentz had. And that is the team that you faced. Cool. What about Jackson Dart and the Eagles? Sorry, Jackson Dart and the Giants. Cam Scatterboo shattered his leg, his ankle. Malik Neighbors is not there. And they just fired their head coach last week. Or sorry, not last week, but roughly on Monday. Not much to say. You lost to Denver, and they're not even that good offensively. You beat a Tampa Bay team who is, at the time, wasn't healthy. The only legit win that you may have is the Rams in Kansas City. You went into Kansas City, you beat the Chiefs, and you had that huge comeback win against the Rams. But outside of those couple of games, you've played essentially 2 games offensively of okay to a decent football offensively. Outside of that, you've been just squeaking by. But it is all about winning games. But when it gets to the playoffs, you're going to have to score. I promise you. The Eagles are going to have to play the same teams they've played in the playoffs in the regular season. They're going to see the Rams again. You think the Rams is going to let Philly do what they did and come back and do the block field goals and all that again? That's not going to happen again. It's not. What about the Bucs? Who knows how good they can be on offense when they're fully healthy? They're getting Bucky Irvin back. They're getting healthy. What about the Lions? That'll be a good test for them this weekend. Let's see how they match up against the Lions. There are no slouches in the NFC. And the Eagles are going to have to get things right. And from the future outlook point of view about the whole A.J. Brown situation, because this stuff has stemmed all year. We've had the Instagram posts and all these things, the media interviews, and all this. This could derail Philly in their run to a Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni has been in the media, and they've shown many clips of him just answering these questions. He looks annoyed. He looks aggravated. He just wants to get interviews. Sorry, my nose is absolutely itching right now. But he's wanting to get interviewed about football. He wants to talk about the team. He doesn't want to keep talking about an individual player who is complaining and whining about him not getting the ball. And it looks like he is waning on Nick Sirianni. And, you know, Jalen Hurts, Mr. Perfect Media personality, he's going to say the right thing. But this could pose to be a problem for Philly going forward. I'm very interested to see tomorrow night how it might affect their offense against the Lions. I know all this stuff happened last year when regards to the offense, because if we look back and really think about it, this whole A.J. Brown thing has been going on since last year. And we looked at A.J. Brown's numbers from last year. I didn't even know that his numbers were that low. He only caught 1,079 yards. In today's NFL world, in grand scheme of things, that's like okay. Usually a great season for a receiver nowadays is like 1,400 yards. But it feels like this year, the frustrations regarding the offense of A.J. Brown has been turned to 10,000. Like, turned up a whole nother level. And I don't know if Philly could even come back to from this. I don't know if they can get to the Super Bowl with all the frustration and the noise and the Philadelphia media. And you got to think, and give credit to Nick Sirianni. He's in one of the hardest outside of New York, the hardest media landscapes to navigate. Like, that Philadelphia media is brutal. New York media and Philly media, they're like neck and neck when it comes to like dealing with the media and how just rough they can be. So I got to give credit to Nick Sirianni on that front and being able to manage all this, and Jalen Hurts and just being able to win games given all these distractions. But ultimately, the grand scheme of things, and the main takeaway from today's topic, I'm already roughly 11 and a half minutes into this segment. We need to move on. I'd be shocked if he's on Philadelphia next year. Unless something drastically changes, they work it out, the offense gets better, A.J. Brown gets plugged into the offense more. But this relationship, and I know I've been using this analogy a lot, but it's absolutely true. It feels like this relationship may be going far more towards a divorce than a healthy marriage. And that is my thoughts on the A.J. Brown situation. And if you ask me, I wouldn't be opposed to all the discourse going around regarding A.J. Brown and the Eagles. I'm pretty much eating it up. Because, of course, I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm loving it. All right. Now that the big main headliner is out the way, we still got some important topics. We got some good stuff to talk about. We got 3 more topics left. They're far more shorter than what the A.J. Brown situation was. We're going to keep this short and sweet these next couple segments. So, Caleb Williams. I have wanted to talk about Caleb Williams since Monday. I didn't have it for Monday's show because Monday's show, if you did not watch it, go back and watch it. It was a great show. Action-packed. Had a lot to talk about. So I kind of was like, okay, I'll put that on the back burner. Had Tuesday's show. Had a couple topics that I felt like were more important than the Caleb Williams and the Bears because I didn't get to watch Caleb Williams and the Bears, but everybody, Colin Cowherd, and for first, everybody was talking about the Bears. And I was like, okay, let me go look at this game and see what everybody is talking about. But, I mean, you know, Caleb Williams, the Bears, they're having a phenomenal season. They're 6-3. They're riding high. I think they've won what? 4. I think the Bears have won what? 5 out of their last 6 games, so to speak. I think they're roughly on a. Let me make sure. But I think they are on. I think they're on like a 4 or 5 game win streak or something like that. If I stand corrected. Okay, so they started out on 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, oh my God, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they've won 6 out of their last 7. That is absolutely phenomenal. I didn't even think it was that many. I thought they were like when they were on 4 out of their last 5, but whatever. So yeah, they've won 6 out of their last 7. Granted, their wins have come against pretty easy teams. I mean, you've played the Giants without Jackson Dart in the second half. You played the Bengals, who cannot guard anyone defensively. You lost to a Baltimore Ravens team without Lamar Jackson. Shouldn't have lost that game. Then you beat the Saints, who are, at the time had Spencer Rattler quarterback. Now they've moved on to Tyler Shough. Washington Commanders. That was a pretty decent win at the time. Then the Raiders and the Cowboys. Their schedule's not been the best. But we have to ultimately give credit to where credit is due. And I've watched the film. I've watched Caleb Williams. And ultimately, I come up with this idea. I said to myself, Ben Johnson could do the unimaginable, and make the Bears a competent franchise. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this offense and the way Caleb Williams has played this year has been drastically different. When you look at the time when Ryan Poles, he's been getting a lot of crap the last couple of years over the way that he's organized this team. And the decision that he made trading the number 1 pick that year with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, he traded it away to the Panthers. And he turned that into all those offensive linemen, Luther Burden, Caleb Williams, Colston Loveland. Like, they have a roster put together. And they have done it without many free agents. The only main big free agent that I can really think of that they signed was one of the offensive linemen and Terrell Edmond. So Ryan Poles made the decision to hire the hot head coaching candidate at the time last year, this past offseason, Ben Johnson. He had the best offense with the Lions under Dan Campbell. And, a lot of people were questioning him. They were like, man, can this guy be a head coach? Because when you look at Ben Johnson, the way he is on the sideline, he just don't look like he could lead a team. But, man, that dude is pretty much the silent assassin. Like, when you see him, he has no emotion. He has his pen. He's clicking his pen. And, he just makes faces when Caleb does something stupid. And he's like, Well, ultimately, let's get to storytelling here. Caleb Williams just looks like it's not fully there. I feel like Caleb Williams still has a lot of room to grow, and the potential that he has under Ben Johnson could be a top 5 quarterback in this league. And Colin Cowherd did this poll out of all the quarterbacks in the league under 25 years old. There's like 10 of them. And you would choose 3 out of the 10. Caleb Williams would be one of the 3 out of the 10. And yes, Jay Daniels and Drake May, Bo Nix, all those guys are on that list. But the way Caleb Williams has looked this year, he's not turning the ball over. He's not taking bad sacks. It's really crazy, and people need to go like the Giants and all these teams with the quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, which Justin Herbert's been able to manage. I mean, they've had injuries on their offensive line. But even the Vikings and all these teams who have really pedestrian O-lines, look at the Bears situation. You go, what's the number 1 thing Ben Johnson wanted to do? You know what, Caleb, you're our guy. We are going to build this offensive line because you were the most sacked quarterback last year. Ben Johnson said, yep, let's get us this offensive line. Now when I watch the Bears, Caleb Williams is hardly under duress. Caleb Williams can snap the ball and just navigate the pocket. He can pick you apart. And on Sunday, in those weather conditions, it was snowing, windy, and Caleb Williams was out there throwing darts. He was accurate. He was on time. And when you watched him, I'm like, the talent. It is not even close. Like and this is no shot at like Jayden Daniels and even Drake May. But when you watch just the athleticism and the talent from when you watch Caleb Williams and watch Drake May and Jayden Daniels, it's just that arm itself. And the way he's able to maneuver the pocket and just roll out and make big plays, which was his strong suit in college. And it's like, if he's able to get the small things right, if he's able to continue to grow under Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams has got some problems. He still holds the ball just a little bit long. He can be inaccurate at times. But if he can put it together, like, this kid could be phenomenal. And if the Bears going into the future, I don't think, and ultimately, I don't think this team is going to go deep in the playoffs if they get into the playoffs. I think they would, at this present moment so far this season. And they got a good matchup against the Vikings. They still got some good teams. They still got to play the Packers. They got to play the Eagles. They still got to play the Niners and the Lions. Like, they got some tough games coming up. Like, their schedule is going to they got some hard games. But it feels like at this present moment, and they may show us differently, show me differently. But it feels like this team is trending more towards a first-round exit than making playoff noise. But going into this season, just making the playoffs is a success and a win for Ben Johnson, for Caleb Williams, and that whole franchise, Ryan Poles, and everyone involved. You can talk all you want, but quarterbacks being clutch and finding ways to win is the best stat. Excuse me. But it is something that I had to grow. I grew into this take because, everybody loves quarterback wins, and they say quarterback wins is not a stat. But the thing that we gave just Jalen Hurts a lot of credit for, which I had to mature into, was the fact that a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, he's not fancy. He's not this super talented quarterback. He doesn't have this super... When you watch Jalen Hurts and the way he throws the football, it doesn't wow you. Even when he runs, he kind of runs like he's in slow motion. Like, Jalen Hurts doesn't do anything that's like physically, athleticism, awing at all. In comparison to you, just compare Caleb Williams playing football and watching him throw the football in comparison to Jalen Hurts. It's not even close. You just look at Caleb Williams like, that guy made that throw. Jalen Hurts don't have the capability to do that. But Jalen Hurts is the type of quarterback that he's clutch and he finds ways to win. And Caleb Williams this season has been able to do that. I actually had a article written up on my computer, and I actually forgot about it because, again, y'all know I had this plan on Monday. And I actually looked up an article about the fourth quarter comebacks that the Bears have had. And I don't remember it from reading it. I was supposed to have it up for notes, but again, didn't have it. I had to get the show in today real quick because I got things going on this afternoon, the rest of the evening. But the stat was just pretty much everybody was appalled at all the fourth quarter comebacks and all the things that the Bears have been able to do. And the Bears had a big fourth quarter comeback against the Giants. I need to see more going forward with the Bears. But year one, and I classify this as year one. I mean, Caleb Williams, he's the first year dysfunctional. You fired your head coach. Offense was terrible. Offensive line was terrible. Your team was awful. And they had a hot start to the season. And it feels like after the Washington Commanders game, it's just been pretty much on free fall. But I classify this as year one because this is where the stability has started. But year one has been great for the franchise, the players, and the fans. You're 6-3. You got a good Vikings matchup. If you win this game at Minnesota, you get revenge after losing week 1 against the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy. You're going to feel great about yourself. You're going to feel great. You're 7-3. And I don't even know if they've had their bye week already. But yeah, you're 7-3. You could be 7-3 and making your case for the playoffs. What more can you ask for the Chicago Bears and the Bears fan base? I'm very interested to see more of the Bears going forward. And man, Caleb Williams, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Ben Johnson may bring out the best in Caleb Williams. That segment was a little bit longer than what I wanted. And I really wish I had that stat up. Oh, that sucks. And I had it written up too. It was from the Chicago Bears website. And they were talking about all the fourth quarter comebacks this year. And I think they had like a stat for Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter. Man, that sucks. I wish I had that stat. But either way, we'll move on. This is another topic that I was supposed to talk about that I written up on Monday. Literally, I know you guys can't see this, but I'm on when I write my notes. I'm literally talking about Monday. This is Monday's script. I'm still on Monday's script, and I still got a whole separate script that I wrote for today's show. So we're still talking about old topics from that I came up with on Monday. So there was an interesting, what would I say, an interesting story, so to speak, that came out roughly Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, right before the games. And they reported that Dan Campbell was taking over play calling for the Detroit Lions against the Washington Commanders on the road. And, you know, when I think of Dan Campbell, I think of a guy who is not a Sean Payton. He's not a Sean McVay. He's not a Mike McCarthy. He's not a guy that's like, yep, I am and even Kyle Shanahan, I'm not a play calling extraordinaire. I'm not an X's and O's type of guy. That's not Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell strikes me as the guy. He is the Mike Tomlin. He's the culture setter. He's the Mike Vrabel. He's the guy, the biting kneecaps and all these analogies that he comes and metaphors that he comes up with. He's that type of guy. He's the motivator. He's the guy that gets the guys prepped and ready to go and ready to play. Any game manages. But when I found out that Dan Campbell, that is pretty much that idea of Dan Campbell that I just described is pretty much dispersed all across the media space when you think about Dan Campbell. And that Dan Campbell was calling plays on offense. I found this odd, and I really don't understand the disconnect. If you guys are not aware, they are saying that Jared Goff and the offense felt like, well, Jared Goff and the members, Jahmyr Gibbs, I guess, and everybody involved around the offense, they all felt the offense was one-dimensional, which is very odd given that the Lions' offense this season is among the league leaders in the NFL across the board. Like, they're super efficient. I guess maybe, and everybody's hinting around this, like, they're trying to get J-Mo more involved. They're not trying to be so Amon-Ra reliant and running the ball reliant. I don't know. From when I've watched the Lions this year, outside of week 1, I thought the offense has been pretty good. And maybe the game against the Vikings, and this is when this all sparked, was when they lost against the Vikings at home. But even in that game, you know, in the Chiefs game that they lost, the 3 games that they lost, I mean, the offense was not horribly bad. Now, granted, I didn't watch the Viking game, but I vividly remember from the Chiefs game when they played the Chiefs on the road on Sunday Night Football, you know, the offense was never about the play calling and the type of plays that they're calling in the situation. It's pretty much was about the execution. I mean, you had the moments where, you know, the 2-point conversion that they called, that the play, oh no, it wasn't even a 2-point conversion. It was like the trick play they ran up with where Jared Goff ran out to be a wide receiver, and it was an illegal formation, and they ended up having to kick a field goal. And there were just moments where it was just more about the execution of the offensive play call rather than what was being called. So I've not understood why Dan Campbell and the Lions came to this resolution. Now there's everybody was a little skeptical of the OC hire to begin with, and maybe the same sentiment that the media was having about this guy being the offensive coordinator. ends up probably being the same sentiment that the Lions were having about their offensive coordinator. I mean, he's not terrible at his job, but I don't think that the OC that the Lions currently have, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, and everybody else have the same vision of what the offense needs to be. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I have to give credit for Dan Campbell hearing the voice of his players. I mean, you always want that coach who, you always want that head coach who is not a Mr. Know-It-All. Is his way or the highway. You always want that coach who you hear your players and hear the struggles that they're having, and you act and you be proactive about it. And I give Dan Campbell a whole lot of respect for that, and it shows the reason why he's turned out to be a pretty darn good head coach, and the reason why he has been able by himself. He has literally had that franchise, turned that franchise around with the snap of his fingers. I mean, the Lions have been pathetic for years. I mean, you're talking about a franchise who had Calvin Johnson Megatron, who is currently and was a first ballot Hall of Famer just a couple of years ago, and the guy at quarterback in Matt Stafford, who now on the Rams. A guy in Matt Stafford who now on the Rams. If Matt Stafford played on the Rams, his whole career would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, Matt Stafford has been absolutely turning it up for the Rams the whole time he's been with the organization. And this year, he's in the conversation for most valuable player in the NFL. And you've had the Barry Sanders. I mean, you've had all this talent. Ndamukong Suh. And yet you have nothing to show for it. And Dan Campbell has really turned his franchise around. And, I mean, I give him all the credit in the world. But if this backfires, it could be costly. Because historically, when you make a change at OC like this mid-season and your team is being successful, this never turns out to be a good move. It just never historically has. Whenever you make a change mid-season at defensive coordinator, go ask the Philadelphia Eagles a couple years ago when they had the supernatural funk, as Chris Broussard liked to call it. That defense was absolutely atrocious. Like, it just got another level of bad. And I know they had a good game against the Commanders, but to be fair and to be fully transparent, it's not a flex to say that you dominated and dropped 44 on the Washington Commanders. Everybody's been lighting up the Washington Commanders. If I look, they showed a stat because it was referred towards Cowboys fans because the Cowboys have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. But the Washington Commanders have given up 3 out of the top 5 biggest offensive performances so far this season. Given up like the most yards, touchdowns altogether in one. The Washington Commanders have given up 3 out of those 5 games defensively. So that's an atrocious offense. Now, if Dan Campbell and company goes against the Eagles tomorrow and put on an offensive masterclass, I will rest my case. I really will. But historically, this move turns out to not be well. And tomorrow night against the Philadelphia Eagles is at Philly, if I'm not mistaken. I think the game is at Philly. But if you go out against the Philadelphia Eagles and you put on that type of performance, I'll back down and say, okay, maybe they are able to find some continuity and efficiency in the offense that they are looking for. And yes, they are on the road at Philadelphia. So Dan Campbell, and ultimately I really don't think Dan Campbell is fully calling the plays, in which Dan Campbell alluded to this. I think he's more overseeing what's called. And granted, there were photos of him having the eyeglasses on and this, and that on the sideline. So, give or take that. But, yeah. And I literally forgot that I actually made a graphic for Dan Campbell, because I actually had this show written up and I actually had the thing ready to go. So yeah, there's my lower third for Dan Campbell in this segment. Kneecaps to play calling. Campbell calling plays. How odd is this given Lions offensive success? So yeah, it is very odd given the success of what the offense has had so far this year. And it's going to be interesting to see how it does going forward. All right, I forgot that I was going to talk about this when I first put my show and stuff, in my timestamps, but we were going to discuss real quick about the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't have this written up because it's the Dallas Cowboys. I know this team like the back of my hand, and there were reports on Thursday or Wednesday that Siobhan Revel and Demarion Overshown. Demarion Overshown is a linebacker who we drafted in 2023. Currently, our only good draft pick from that draft class. That draft class was absolutely anemic. But, he tore his ACL his rookie year. Last year, had an all-pro type season. Going into this season, there was an article, the top linebackers, and this was an article from ESPN, and these were from the executives. They took a poll, who's the best linebackers? They had Demarion Overshown in the likes of Roquan Smith, Fred Warner, up there with the elite linebackers. And, he tore his ACL roughly last year, I think on Thanksgiving. So, he's making his comeback on Monday night against the Raiders alongside our rookie standout, who I have been harping on because Nick Saban said that he was on Nick Saban's best available this draft at the cornerback position. This guy was supposed to be that good. Granted, I've not watched no Siobhan Revel ECU. I don't even know what I'm getting into. But if Nick Saban says that he was the best cornerback in that draft class, you best believe I am going to go with what Nick Saban said. You daggone right. So if Nick Saban said he's that good, doggone it, I'm going to co-sign that sentiment. All right. So he's from East Carolina. We drafted him in the 3rd round. He is going to get his rookie debut on Monday night as well. So just to talk about it a little bit, I'm excited. Obviously, I'm excited, period, for Monday night because, we got Quentin Williams and Logan Wilson. You got all these additions. I mean, you got 4 key pieces adding to the defense on Monday night. Granted, from the interviews, it seems like Logan Wilson is not going to play much. It don't seem like he's going to play much at all. Quentin Williams should be an all-go. He's definitely going to get majority of the snaps. He's conditioned. He's played this year. It seems like Demarion Overshown is not going to be on much of a pitch count. And they said he's been moving him around great. That's good to hear. But Siobhan Revel seems like he's going to be more of a pitch count type deal. He's going to be wearing his leg brace as well. And it's going to be going forward for them this year. All I want to see going forward, I want to see if Siobhan Revel can be that solid outside corner that we've been missing. Because ideally, I like Bland in the slot. If Diggs can get healthy, you want him on the outside. Granted, I think it is a priority for the Dallas Cowboys going forward to invest in the corner position because I don't want to have it solely. I don't want going into next year, Siobhan Revel to be like our primary corner coming off an ACL. It's just, that's something that does not sit well with me. I think they should really invest in corner early on in next year's draft. Even though I would love them to go linebacker, edge rusher primarily in the next draft. But if they don't want to go linebacker or safety, which I think they should go safety over anything, like safeties, our safety position is god awful. And Caleb Downs is available. Yeah, that guy's a stud. But they should really invest in the cornerback position. And a lot of mock drafts so far, Pro Football Focus and ESPN, a lot of them have Dallas taking a cornerback in the 1st round. So, I want to see how Siobhan Revel moves. I want to see how he guards. The Raiders do not have any standout wide receivers. So it's going to be a good transition for him to get out there, get his feet wet. You don't have this number 1 all-pro, Pro Bowl wide receiver to guard. They got rid of Jacoby Myers at the trade deadline, so they don't really have this back-breaking wide receiver. So it'll be a good test for him to get his feet wet and, just get some reps in a live NFL game. So that's what my look is for Siobhan Revel. I just want to know how he moves, his ball skills. They are raving about this kid. His dad's raving about him. I'm very excited to see what the kid has to offer. As far as Demarion Overshown, I want to see how he moves. Granted, he's tore both his ACLs. I mean, he's tore one in both knees. He's been harping about how medicine is different these days, this and this and that. we'll see. They said he's moving around well. I just want Demarion Overshown to be healthy. For some reason, the Dallas Cowboys have not had luck at having healthy linebackers. I mean, we've had Sean Lee, Jalen Smith, Van Der Esch, Demarion Overshown. Like, our linebacking room just seems like it just cannot stay healthy. We know Sean Lee was arguably he was one of the best linebackers in the NFL at one point. We had Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch, their rookie seasons. They blew up the NFL that year, and it was a phenomenal watch. I think it was roughly, 2017, 2018? I mean, it was just a beautiful thing to watch. And we know Jalen Smith, the injury just caught up with him the older he got. And Van Der Esch, the neck injuries, it just piled on the last couple of years. And now Jalen Smith, he was on a roster earlier this year, but Van Der Esch retired. And with Demarion Overshown, he's literally the most athletic. I think out of all those linebackers, I think Demarion Overshown has the potential to be the best. Maybe not as good as Sean Lee, because Sean Lee was on another level. But Demarion Overshown, just athletically, he's healthy. Last year, he looked like one of the most athletic linebackers in the league. Like that play, the first game of the season against Deshaun Watson, where he went sideline to sideline and got Deshaun Watson and sacked him, I was like, the dude shot out of a cannon. Like, he pops up off your screen. Like Micah Parson-esque type popping off your screen. I just want to see if he's capable of having just a smidget of that. 2 ACLs, both knees. I just want to see how it looks. And hopefully the guy and the kid can stay healthy, because, man, Demarion Overshown is a talent that he deserves to be on the football field for people to see. He deserves to be on the football field for Dallas Cowboys fans. So that is, those two guys will be on the field on Monday night. And I'm looking very much forward to seeing what they have to offer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude today's show. I will be live tomorrow to give a little Week 11 preview. I wanted to do it today. Obviously, that was my plan. I wanted to film this part yesterday and have the Week 11 preview today. That didn't end up happening. I got super busy yesterday and called up. So tomorrow morning, before I get up and go to church, I go praise the Lord, okay? I'm going to be giving you all my Week 11 previews for a couple of games that I'm very, very excited to be watching. Of course, we're going to give Dallas Raiders. I'm going to go more in-depth than that. Lions, Eagles, Bears, Vikings, Rams, Seahawks. That's the big one of the weekend for me. And I think the Broncos and Chiefs playoffs. We got a great slate tomorrow and the rest of the weekend. Week 11 has got a great slate of games, so I cannot wait to get into all the action with you all tomorrow. I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like the podcast, look at the podcast, and catch it for all my audio listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I am Jayden Strickland, and I am signing off for today. I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace, love, and positivity always, y'all. See you.